Welcome, everyone, to the Firing the Man podcast. On today's episode, we set our 2021 goals. Now, if you've been following the podcast, you know that Ken and I set our goals in 2020. And this was the first time we had both set goals, documented them, checked in mid-year, and then had an end-of-the-year wrap-up. And I would say last year was one of my most successful years in business. Ken, what about you?
Yeah, same thing. It was kind of like we talked about, it was the first year that I had set goals and put a pen to paper and shared them with you and the world, right, our listeners, and that was that had a huge impact.
For sure, I would say if the concept of goals was a stock, I would buy that stock. I mean, I'm a big fan of it, and so be sure to stay tuned for strategies that we're using to not only set goals, but how to implement them and how to achieve them. So, Ken, what's going on, man?
Hey, I am excited to be in the studio today, and it's kind of huge. We're setting our goals for 2021. We're gonna put it out there, and we want the audience to hold us accountable. I'm gonna hold you accountable, David, and I hope you hold me accountable. And we're gonna do the same thing we did last year, where on a quarterly basis or semi-annual, whatever, we're going to come in, we're going to say, hey, this is where we're at, our progress on the goals, and do we need to turn up the heat? Are we there yet? Or and just share our progress. And that's I think it's crucial to set them, share the progress, hold yourself accountable, and we'll see at the end of 2021 if we accomplish them all.
Yeah, I would say before we dive in, these goals, we're raising the bar significantly higher than where it was last year, and that's exciting. It's nerve-wracking. It's there's a lot of emotions going into this, but Ken, what is your first goal for 2021?
Yeah, absolutely. So to add on what you said, these goals I've set them to make me uncomfortable, because if I'm uncomfortable, I'm growing. So my first goal, to join a new 7- and 8-figure mastermind group. And one of the reasons I had this as a goal is I've been involved in a few masterminds over the last couple of years, and they were really helpful to where I was in the journey, and they helped propel me forward. They were huge, but a mastermind, they kind of, they don't last for a super long time, right? Because everybody in the mastermind, some people might drop out, some people might pivot, go into something different. They just kind of fizzle out. So my last one, we've kind of disbanded and everything. And so this year, I'm going to commit to joining a new 7/8-figure mastermind group that'll help propel me into that direction, surrounding myself with like-minded people in the same space and in the same direction where I'm going.
Definitely. I really like that. So my first goal is schedule time on my calendar for certain long-term initiatives. And when I was prepping this goal sheet, I went back and looked at my notebook. I carry a notebook around with me almost everywhere, and it's kind of a working to-do list. I have a tab for ideas, all kinds of stuff in there. And last year in January, I wrote, hire a full-service social media manager that can run Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and create awesome content. And anytime I fill up a page, I cross things off, and then, at some point I run out of room, so I start a new page. And I carry over anything that I didn't do to the next page. And I carried that forward 4 or 5 times, and as I sit here today, I have not hired that full-service social media manager. And so what I'm going to do on this one is, and I actually did it this morning just out of disgust that I haven't tackled this one, is the first and third Thursday of every month, I've blocked off 4 hours in the morning, and I titled it Swallow the Frog. And Mark Twain has this quote, if you swallow the frog, or swallow a frog the first thing in the morning, everything in your day after that is going to be better. And so I'm going to schedule in 8 hours a month to swallowing the frog, and that just means tackling the stuff that I am putting off. And everyone has that stuff, but the reason that you're putting it off is because you're not dedicating time to it. And so that is what I'm going to do with this one.
Nice. I like that. Swallowing the frog. My next one on the list is I'm going to attend at least 3 live conferences And my goal last year was to do this, which I didn't accomplish it because of the pandemic. But I was this year I wanted to swap it up a little bit, and I want to go to one e-commerce conference. I want to go to one advertising conference, and I want to go to one SEO conference to kind of round out what I'm all of the knowledge that I'm absorbing is not just like single threaded. I want to kind of learn, and I really enjoy SEO, and I think SEO is something that I really like and want to spend more time on. Advertising, it's always good to learn how to market and advertise. So yeah, just kind of 3 conferences on different topics, live conferences where I can actually say hi to people and have dinner with them and meet new people. And yeah, I'm ready for that in 2021.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, my next goal for 2021 is to launch one slam dunk product. And what does that mean? I'm talking about that product that you order, and from the moment that you place that order, you might check the tracking information on it 2 or 3 times, and you are excited for it to show up on your doorstep. And I'm going to give an example of a slam dunk product. There's a company called Sitka, and they make hunting gear. And I ordered this jacket. It's just a beautiful product. They thought of everything. And you think, how can you be innovative on a jacket? Well, check out a Sitka jacket, and they've got an excellent example of it. But it had hand warmers, it had a hood, it had a neck gaiter, and I was so excited when I got it. I just put it on. I was sitting in my office. It was 70 degrees in my office. I had this winter coat on. I was so excited for it, and so that's what I mean by a slam dunk product. And that means beautiful manufacturing, really nice packaging, a seamless design and integration into your life, and something that people really get excited about. I would say one if I were to characterize my business, I would say I have a series of base hits, and that works well for me, and it's profitable. But I don't think that when someone, no one ever, when they receive my products, it doesn't make their week. They're not checking the UPS tracking number multiple times a day to see if, when they get home from work, if it's going to be there, if they're going to enjoy that product. And, I think everybody has that. If you think of the last 50 things that you ordered online, I don't know, Ken, what was the last product that you were just totally jazzed about getting?
It's probably massage chair.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Just that prime product that you order and you're just kind of waiting for it.
Yeah. So that's my goal. I still need to think of what that slam dunk product is going to be, but that is definitely a goal for 2021. Nice. What about you, Ken? What's your next one?
Yeah, so I like that goal, and just to kind of I'm actually going to talk to the audience a little bit on this one. So as you were describing that, maybe the audience agrees with me, but I would like to see a picture of David in his Sitka jacket in his office.
Done.
On the social media channels. Okay, my next goal. So I want to build my team with a focus on removing tasks from my plate, with an emphasis on who's going to do this, not how am I going to do this. So last year, my goal was to double the size of my team. And as the year went on, I realized that's just, I need to start kind of sharpening that a little bit. And so this year is going to be, I will expand my team, but only with a focus on removing tasks from my plate or expansion that's profitable, and with an emphasis on who's going to do that, not how am I going to do that.
Definitely. I really like that. And I think that is, that is a pivot that you're making in terms of going from a solopreneur to an entrepreneur. And I can say personally that has been something that has been tough for me, is to get things off of my plate and finding the right people. I just commented at the beginning of the episode, I've been, I shouldn't say I've been in search, because if I would have searched for a year, I would have found them. But a social media manager, I need to spend more time finding the right people. And as Robert Kiyosaki says, leveraging OPT, which stands for other people's time. Your time is not scalable. So I think that's a really good goal for next year.
Yeah. David, so what's your next goal?
So it is a focus on building an audience. This year we did a book review of Ryan Daniel Moran's 12 Months to a Million. And he talks about building an audience first before launching a product. And not only have I not done that, I am 4 years into it, and I would say that I don't necessarily have that robust of an audience. There are certain people that like my products and they come back for more, but I'm talking about like raving fans, people that really like it, that talk to their friends about it. One brand that comes to mind is Bird Dog Shorts. I've probably told 3 or 4 people they're the most comfortable shorts I've ever owned. And no, we're not sponsored by them. Bird Dogs, if you're listening, reach out to me, because I'd love to be sponsored by you. You guys have an awesome product. But raving fans. And so that's like piece number 1 of building an audience. Also an email list. Ken, I watched you go from virtually 0 to 15,000 last year on your email list, and have seen how that's paid dividends in your business. And that is something that I want to step up my game on this year. And it's not going to happen overnight, but I need to make a concerted effort to start growing that email list. And, the third piece of this building an audience is website traffic. And, the number that I have on my sheet is 5,000 visitors per month. Right now it's about 20. I am 99.8% of my sales come from Amazon. I think it's just mostly my family that comes to my website. And so, I want, in terms of building an audience, I want that audience to come to my website.
Excellent. I really like that goal of yours, David, and it's definitely possible. And it's, you mentioned earlier a pivot. I think this is kind of a pivot on, getting more sales through your own channel that you own. So I really like that goal. I'm be rooting for you on that one. My next goal is similar to one I had last year. I'm leveling it up. So last year I had allocate 2 hours per week on diversification off of Amazon. And this year's goal is I'm going to allocate 5 hours per week on diversification off of Amazon. Now, just to kind of rewind a little bit, so David, your business is my business. We're with the Amazon native, I believe was how you call it, right? All of our sales come off of Amazon. And since the last 24 months or so, it's okay, we're starting to diversify, and lots of reasons why to diversify. You mitigate risk, you get new customers from new sales channels, lots of benefits. So I want to ramp that up. I finished last year at 10% of sales off of Amazon. So the piece of the pie now is 90% Amazon, and 10% of the revenue is coming from other sales channels, my website, Etsy, other sales channels. So I want to continue to grow that and scale the non-Amazon sales, and the only way to do that is to focus more time on that. So I'm going to focus 5 hours per week on that diversification off of Amazon.
Definitely. And one thing that you said is this is kind of rolling forward goal from last year. And one thing that I would say about that is in 2020 this was your goal and it worked. And so why not continue on with this initiative? I think when I was coming up with my list, I thought to myself, well, I want all new goals, right? But I don't think that that's really the best approach. I think you should look back at, hey, what have been some previous goals? Did they work? And if they worked, you should do more of that, right? And so, you've mentioned 6 figures on Etsy. That was part of your 2020 goals, and now you're crushing it on Etsy. And so that's awesome. That's awesome. And I would say that that's been a positive ROI activity for you up until now, and should be in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. David, what's your next goal?
So it is make one acquisition or do a deep dive on 20 companies in the shopping phase. So we did a book review on Walker Deibel's Buy Then Build. And if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely check it out. That book changed the way that I think about starting a company versus buying an existing company. Then we had the honor and privilege of having Walker on our show as a guest. And he is just an absolute wealth of information. And he talks about that, 90% of startups fail. And so when you buy an existing company with an existing track record, you are already in that top 10%. right? There have already been, if 10 companies start, you're buying the one that survived and has a good chance of, maintaining that longevity. And so the reason that I say make one acquisition or do a deep dive is, and Ken, I think you may think I'm a robot, but say I have got to make a decision. Do I invest $50,000 into a down payment on a new company, or taking that $50,000 and investing it into new products into my own company? My guiding decision is going to be return on investment. And if I have a 20% ROI in my own business, and I'm in the shopping phase, and I can only find companies where I think ROI may be 10 to 15%, I'm a moron if I don't reinvest in my own company. So I don't want to make this a clear, like, I want to make an acquisition just for the sake of making an acquisition. But if I don't, I want to have a good reason why. And I think, taking a deep dive on 20 companies in the shopping phase is going to be, a good alternative here. So anyway, Ken, what's your next one?
Yeah, so David, I like that goal of yours, and betting on e-commerce is probably a good investment. I might have a similar goal down my list, but my next one is it's similar to one I had last year, and I think it's going to get harder and harder as the years go on. But my goal is to grow top line revenue across both e-commerce brands by 100%, with a caveat of a huge focus on driving gross profits and decreasing expenses. So kind of all three of those. So I want to double top line revenue, focus a lot on gross profits and decreasing expenses. So all three of those kind of go hand in hand. I didn't put any percentages on gross profits or expenses because I think there's a lots of room. My companies are in that 3-year-old period, and I think there's a lot of room for a lot of stuff. But yeah, 100% top line growth across e-commerce brands with a huge focus on driving gross profits and decreasing expenses.
Definitely. So going along with that, some of my financial goals. So obviously we talk a lot about top line growth, but within the subcategory of financial goals is trim the fat on unprofitable products. And this has been a mental hurdle that I have just started to get over, in that I will launch a product. I'm very optimistic about it, and then things just don't pan out. It just doesn't take off like I think. And but I hold on to it. And the reason for that is generally I'll have $500 wrapped up in product photography. I'll have another $300 wrapped up in a video. I'll have $300 wrapped up into listing optimization. And so it's like, all right, I've invested in this, and I just want to, it to work. And, we've talked about the 80-20 rule, in that 20% of your products are generally going to provide 80% of your profits. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking at all of my SKUs on a profitability basis. And anything that has been unprofitable or right at break even for 2 years or longer, I'm getting rid of it. I'm going to sell out and I'm going to move on. And yes, I'm going to take a loss on those product photos, but I want to focus on what's profitable. And I'm not running this e-commerce business for my health. And so if something's been at break even for 2 years, unless there's a dramatic change, it's probably going to be break even for the next 2 years, the next 4 years. And so it's hard for me to just mentally say, hey, you thought the market was going to like this? You're wrong, and it's time to move on. And but I'm doing it this year, and so that's going to be to the tune of about 40 products, and that is going to be challenging for me mentally, but I know it's the right thing to do. And the first step forward is knowing how profitable each product line is, and using that as my guiding light.
Yeah, I like that goal a lot, and it's not something that I look at deep enough. David, you're CPA and you have a deep understanding of analytics and diving really deep into that kind of stuff. And I'm excited that you have that goal. I want to follow it and hopefully learn from you on that. My next goal is ties into one from last year as well. So right now I have an email list of 15,000 for one of my brands, and I want to grow that email list to 30,000. And it's not a number game. So the 15,000 people that I have on my email list are curated. Like they've been through probably 20 emails at this point, a sequence, and they want to they have not unsubscribed and they want my products. So these are not just random emails. These are curated emails, and I want to double that to 30,000 curated emails, people that are responding, opening emails, and then my other brands that I want to start an email list and grow it to 5,000. So
can I, I feel like we have the type of relationship where we can gently nudge each other. And I this is your goal, but here's what I'm going to say is I watched you go from 0 to 15,000 last year. And I would really like to push you to go to 50,000. And that's a stretch goal. That's a stretch goal. But I would say I feel like you're capable of it. What do you think?
You know what? I don't know about the audience, but I hear that as a challenge. So if you're watching on YouTube, I just changed that goal on my list of 50,000, and you're on, David. I'm going to take it to 50,000.
Cool. Hey, that's what we're here. We're here to push each other, and I know you can do it. I watched you go from 0 to 15,000, and I think you can go to 50,000 next year. So, all right. So my last goal for the year. And if you tuned in 2 weeks ago, we recapped our 2020 goals. And, I shared on that episode that one of my 2020 goals was to fire the man, was to quit my full-time job and do e-commerce full-time. And I was too nervous to say that, on our goals episode. And so I just kind of skipped over it. And at the end of 2020, I was still employed at my job, at my full-time job. And this year's different. I am putting this out to the Firing the Man Nation. I am putting this out to the universe that I want to fire the man in 2021. And I want you to hold me accountable to this. Fans, I want you to hold me accountable to this. I think that one thing that's held me back is discomfort. I've been waiting for discomfort to pass. There's always something that is, like, what about insurance? What about, my wife and I are talking about having another kid. Like, what if we want to move? There's always something. And what I've been doing is I've been saying, all right, keep focusing on e-commerce in your free time. And when that discomfort passes, then it's time. And I don't think I'm ever going to reach that goal. I think there's always going to be a level of risk in leaving your full-time job. And that's something that I'm going to need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable here. And so I've got a plan in place, and I think I can do it. I think I can do it in 2021, and stay tuned for that. I felt a little bit like a hypocrite being on a podcast called Firing the Man, but I'm bringing everyone along on the journey. And Ken, it was awesome to see you crush this goal last year in 6 months. And it's taken me a longer time to get there. But I do want people to know that this is a goal for me, and I'm uncomfortable, but I don't think that's going to pass. But I want you all to hold me accountable to it.
Yeah, David, I'm super excited for that's probably my favorite goal on all of this, because that's kind of why we're doing what we're doing, and sharing our journeys with the audience. I think that's huge. We've learned from other people, and we're sharing this, and for you to be vulnerable and share that, that goal is awesome. And the timeline, is different for everyone. Everybody, nobody has a cookie cutter. Your life is different than my life, and it's different than the audience's life. So everybody has their own path. and I'm rooting for you, and I believe your path to firing the man is in 2021, and I'm really excited for that. So that's my favorite goal. So I have one last goal on here, and it is I have two. Okay, one of them is similar to the one you had earlier, David. It's making acquisition of another. I wouldn't say e-commerce company. I would say online company in that space. Could be SaaS company, could be a niche website, could be an e-commerce company. But make an acquisition of another company or be on the cusp of that in a shopping mode in 2021. That's a goal. And stay tuned. Could be more on that later, but just stay tuned for that one. So my final goal is, and it really aligns with my fourth goal of 100% top line growth across e-commerce brands. I want to add 2 new marketplaces in addition to the ones I have. And now this could be Walmart. This could be other Amazon international marketplaces, Canada, UK, Australia, lots of things floating around. I want to add 2 of them to the business.
I want to dive into your goal about making an acquisition, and I'm just going to take a wild guess here. Was it Walker Dybel that planted that seed?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he planted that seed deep. I just once you read Buy Then Build or you listen to that podcast, it almost seems irrational or statistically improbable to start from scratch. And that's been a lot of our journey, but man, audience, at the very least, check out those episodes, because the way Walker talks about making an acquisition and how everyone thinks to themselves, I don't have enough money to make an acquisition. When he talks about the ways that you can do it, it seems to put things into reach. And so, he absolutely planted that seed for me. I was wondering if that was the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something that I follow a couple of other podcasts, and I'll give a shout out to Quiet Light, and it's been on my radar for a while. But yeah, after reading Buy Then Build, I was like, I need to. It's another one of those things where we challenge ourselves to be uncomfortable. That's something where right now, today, I don't know where I'm going to get the cash to buy another company. I don't know how I'm going to get the free time. I don't know any of those things, but I'm going to challenge myself. I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to force myself to do that because I know that is what needs to happen next for me. So yeah.
Definitely. So to wrap up the episode, when I look back at 2020, in terms of checking off our goals and actually accomplishing them, I think we did a really good job. And not only did we set those goals, but we put a plan in place to achieve them. So what were some things that helped you in achieving those goals?
Yeah, one thing that I added in 2020, and my business coach kind of helped out and shared some of this. But every week I create a plan, and I kind of have it segmented on the projects that I'm working. There's lots of ways to dice it up. I segment mine by the projects that I'm working, and then I list all of the tasks or projects within that project that I'm working, priority. And then I assign time to it. How long is that going to take? And then who's going to do it, whether it's me or someone on my team. And so every project that I'm working has that sheet, and I update that every week. And then I as I go through it, as I'm through the week, as I'm working on stuff, I cross it off, and then at the end of the week, what I didn't get finished on there, because it gets translated to the next week, and it's just kind of this living document that I have in front of me. That it's a way for me to get all this stuff out of my head onto paper, and when I have a block of time, then I go to that and I work. Or it's like, hey, I'm done doing this. Let me go to this list. What's next in the priority? Boom, it's there. It's just this kind of this guiding light for me.
Yeah, definitely. It's from what I'm hearing from you. You are being proactive about managing your time as opposed to reactive, and that's something that I think I need to do a little bit better job of. Is I can go into my office and work a 9-hour day, And sometimes I just am putting out fires and bouncing from one thing to the other. But, blocking off time for stuff that you need to do and is going to make a difference in your business or your life, and then holding yourself accountable to that. Like, there's always going to be emails to reply to. There's always going to be, there's a lot of small tasks, but, that's one thing that I like what you're doing and am going to emulate, is that you're being very proactive about which tasks are going to get attention, when are they going to get done, who is going to do them. And, that is something that I think oftentimes when I go into my office and sit down to work, I think, I've got 1,000 things to do. I don't have time to plan. And I think the reason that I have 1,000 things to do is because I haven't planned. And I'm just constantly bouncing around, going from one thing to the other. So, we hear it all the time in masterminds and in our meetup is, I don't feel like I have enough time. And, everyone has 24 hours in a day. And so, that's something that I'm going to be implementing as well. And I think there's a common theme here is like, have a schedule and use it.
Yeah. One other thing too that on this front of things that were helpful for me to accomplish those goals, I installed a Ring doorbell. I think it was like around April or May, and that Ring doorbell, anytime the UPS guy or anytime somebody would drive down the road, my phone would like vibrate. It would go off. And it took me until then to realize how much my concentration was being lost to text messages, phone calls, Ring doorbell notifications, whatever, right? I have all of these things. So what's probably made the single most impact for me in 2020 is, along with my planning sheet, is putting my phone on do not disturb. And if you do that, you can add in your favorites. So I have an iPhone and I have a list of like 7 or 8 people that's in my favorites that the calls will go through that phone. So if there's anybody you need to take calls from, put them in your favorites. Otherwise, my phone stays on D&D, do not disturb, in my office on the desk on the charger. And it seems like it's like deep thought, that concentration that you need to really drill in on a project and focus on it. Like if you have a device that's bouncing off the table every 7 seconds, you're never going to have that deep thought. So that's been crucial for me.
Definitely. I would say if anyone heard D&D and thought Dungeons and Dragons, then you probably need to use Do Not Disturb more on your phone. So, I'd say to wrap up this episode, as I mentioned, I think sharing your goals with somebody, at least one person, is incredibly valuable. And maybe you, the audience, don't feel comfortable telling a spouse or a parent, but tell somebody. And if Ken or I can be that resource, go to firingtheman.com/contact and click on the microphone and tell us your goals for 2021. And there is just something about saying it out loud to somebody else that is very helpful. And if you leave us that voice message, we'll check in with you at the end of the year and hold you accountable to your goals. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And this time of year, start setting your 2021 goals. And don't be one of those people that flakes out, come February 1st. You can do it. We believe in you.